Okay.
So, Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So, in this presentation, we are going to present about our topic of interest, which is Cry-Dusha syndrome that we have chosen. And I think before we start the presentation, it is good if we are introducing ourselves first. So, me as a leader, my name is Muhammad Ajmi Akal bin Rosli with my metric number 203554.
My name is Lu Zhengji. My metric number is 204843.
My name is Luqman Hakim bin Uzairi, and my matrix number is 202819.
My name is Nobakis Nabila and my matrix number is 204244.
Hi, my name is Narijana binti Harun. My matric number is 201248.
Hi, my name is Amira binti Mustafa Kamal. My matric number is 202386. All right, so I'll start the presentation. So as you can see in the screen right now is our infographic. So our choice of genetic syndrome is Cray-Dusha syndrome. Okay. So before we go deeper into this syndrome, I will explain briefly about human genetic disorder. So what is human genetic disorder? The result of a mutation in the DNA in our body cells. So it occurs because of the mutation, meaning that there's a change in that DNA because of the mutation. So what due to the error in DNA replication and also due to environmental factors such as smoke cigarettes and also radiation such as X-ray, gamma, okay, that cause the changes in that someone DNA sequence. So our DNA provide codes for making proteins. Protein is a molecule that mostly perform most function in our body. So so when a section in our DNA is undergo mutation, then the protein it codes is also affected and cannot be able to carry out its normal function. So depends on where the mutation occur, they can have little or less effect or alter the biology from our body that can result to the genetic syndrome. Okay, so that's all for me. I'll pass to Jannah.
Thank you, Mira. So, Cray-Dusha syndrome is one of the rare genetic disorder that is caused by the deletion, a missing piece of the genetic material on the P arm of chromosome number 5. Basically, it happens from birth and affects the growth and development of the baby. Therefore, infants with this syndrome will produce a high pitch of cat-like cry. It is because of their larynx developed abnormally due to the chromosome deletion, which is affects their sound cry. This Cray-Dusha syndrome, uh, which is the most syndrome related to the deaths, which is occur within the first year to the deaths of first year of life. However, several children that have survived who reach age 1 will have normal life, but with the lifelong physical or development complication. That's all from me. I will pass to Balki.
Okay, thank you, Jenna. So I'll be going on about the incident rate first. Okay, so first of all, the Cray-Dusha syndrome, it affects females more than males. Secondly, it occurs in an estimated of 1 in 20,000 to 50,000 newborns. Thirdly, it affects people of all ethnic backgrounds. So basically what we can conclude is that this disease is not biased at all and has no specifications. Next, we will go into the causes. So the Creutzfeldt disease is spontaneous or de novo and occurs during events that affect during the early embryonic development. So there are two types of events that contributes to this illness. The first is called partial deletion. So we all know that deletion is when a part of the chromosome breaks off and it causes loss of genetic material. Okay, so this deletion occurs at chromosome 5. Anything that affects chromosome 5 at the P arm, which is a short arm, may lead to Creutzfeldt syndrome. So the reason why it's called partial deletion is because this disease is a monosomy. It's a monosomy disease, meaning that, for example, in a diploid cell, there's supposed to be a pair of homologous chromosomes. However, the second homologous chromosome only appears in a portion, and that's because it is already partially deleted at the P arm. Okay, so that's why it's called partial deletion. And about partial deletion is that the length and location of the deletion affects the severity of this disease. Okay, a larger deletion will lead to a more severe disease of Creutzfeldt. Okay, and yeah, researchers believe that this is because that when the deletion occurs at the P arm of the 5th chromosome, it affects a specific gene called the CTNND2, and that gene is responsible for severe intellectual disability. Okay, so that's why one of the features of Creutzfeldt is intellectual disability. Okay, that's the first cause. Now moving on to the next cause is balance translocation. So we know that translocation is when a part of a chromosome breaks off, but it reattaches to a different chromosome. However, balanced translocation means that it breaks off but reattaches at the same chromosome. Therefore, when you look under the microscope, you will see that there is literally no difference. Therefore, it means that there is no gain nor loss of genetic material. And I know it sounds harmless because it is. It is harmless to the carrier. Most carriers are healthy and perfectly fine, but when it is inherited, it becomes fatal to the child that inherits balanced translocation, because when it is inherited, it will not come off as a normal chromosome, but it is that partial deletion occurs at a higher rate, but spontaneously, whereas balanced translocation occurs at a lower rate, but may occur spontaneously or be inherited by the carrier parent. That's all for me. I'll pass it to the next presenter.
All right, so we will move on to the inheritance pattern of the Creutzfeldt syndrome. So as explained by Balkis about the causes or the mutation that occurs involving the Creutzfeldt syndrome, which is the chromosome mutation, and chromosome mutation, which is the deletion and also balance translocation. So these two are one of the causes, both of them are the causes of the Creutzfeldt syndrome. So Creutzfeldt syndrome is inheritable, but it is not directly inheritable from the parent. Why do I say it like that? Is because that it's not that we will have parents who have Creutzfeldt syndrome and they will inherit the Creutzfeldt syndrome to their child, but it's due to things such as balance translocation, which is harmless to the parent, but it can lead to abnormal chromosomal conditions that leads to the Creutzfeldt syndrome. So as we can see, 85% the causes of Creutzfeldt syndrome is from 5p partial deletion, and also 15% is from the balance translocation that is harmless from the parents, but it can lead to dangerous conditions for the child. So this 50% of balance translocation that can happen is factored by one parent who is a carrier of an equal exchange of chromosome parts, which we call balance translocation. So if the father is the carrier, it can lead to 2 to 4% of probability that the child will have Creutzfeldt syndrome. This is because when the child inherit the balance translocation, it can lead to an unstable or an abnormal chromosome condition that leads to mutation in their chromosome. So if the mother is the carrier for this parent translocation mutation, it can increase the chances or probability to 15%. And the thing is that both of the carrier parents are unaffected by this mutation, and it can be dangerous for the child. So the deletion of chromosome is usually occurs as a random event for both the 5p partial deletion and also the balanced translocation. So sometimes we won't know if we as a if the parents will contribute to their child to have a Cry-Duchenne syndrome. All right, that is all. I'll move on to the next speaker.
Okay, thank you, Lukman, for the explanation. So in my part, I will explain about the two things, which is symptom and the diagnosis of the Cry-Duchenne syndrome. So let's move to the first one, which is the symptom. For the symptom of this syndrome, some symptoms actually can be severe, while others are so minor and they may go undiagnosed. And actually, the most common symptom for Cry-Duchenne is cat-like cry, and this syndrome also will contribute to some physical features and also other complications. And for the physical features, the children which are born with the Cry-Duchenne syndrome will often small at birth, and they may also experience respiratory difficulties. And instead of these two physical features that I've mentioned just now, they also will have other physical features like small head size, which is known as the microcephaly, small bridge of the nose here, the small bridge, and they may also have the full skin over the eyes, and sometimes it have widely spaced eye, which is known as the hypertelorism, and they may also have low set ear, a small jaw, and also partial waving of finger or toes, which is like this is a finger, just like between the finger, it will attach between each other. And also the children with this syndrome will experience single line on the palm of the hand. Just for example, like us, we have several line right on our palm, but the children with Cry-Duchenne syndrome, it will have single line on the palm of the hand. So yeah, that's one of the physical feature. And lastly, they may have an inguinal hernia, which is a protrusion of organ through a weak area or tear in the abdominal wall. So as I mentioned before this, children with this syndrome will also experience other complication, which is the internal problem. Yeah. For example, the children will have skeletal problem like the scoliosis, which is known as the abnormal curvature of our spine. And sometimes it will have heart and other organ defect, weak muscle tone in infancy. Sometimes the children may also have hearing and vision difficulties, delay in development, for example, like walking, mental retardation, and also hyperactivity. And as they grow, they often experience trouble in talking, walking, and feeding. And sometimes they can also have behavioral problems such as hyperactivity and also aggression. So yeah, we are finished with the symptoms. So I will move to the next part, which is the diagnosis. So basically, I will tell this is on how Cry-Duchenne syndrome is being diagnosed. The diagnosis of the syndrome is generally made in the hospital at birth, and a healthcare provider may note the clinical symptom, I said before this, the symptom, which like cry is the most prominent clinical symptom and features in newborn children, and is usually diagnostic for the syndrome. And besides, doctor also may perform an X-ray on the child head to detect the abnormalities in the base of the skull. Yeah, and actually, instead of just not the clinical symptom and also perform the X-ray, the method on analysis of the individual chromosome may be performed. It is because to detect the deletion of the short arm chromosome 5, it may seen on the chromosome analysis. And if not, actually, a more detailed type of genetic test called FISH, which is known as the fish analysis, may be needed to reveal the small deletion. So the doctor can either test a small sample of tissue from outside the sac where the child developed as the chorionic villus sampling, or just test a sample of amniotic fluid. So yeah, that's all from my part, which is diagnosis and also symptoms. So we move to the next presenter.
Hello, for me, I will present for the treatment. Until now, no specific treatment is available for this syndrome. Children born with genetic condition will most likely require ongoing support from a team. This team made up the parents, therapists, and medical and educational professionals to help the children achieve his or her maximum potential. With early and consistent educational intervention, as well as physical and language therapy, children with Credusha syndrome are capable of reaching their fullest potential and can lead full and meaningful life. Uh, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Albert, for the explanation on the therapy. So basically, we have reached at the end of the presentation, and to sum up, actually, we have discussed about some information about the Credusha syndrome at the beginning of the presentation. We also have discussed about the incidence rate, the causes, the inheritance pattern, the symptom, the diagnosis, also the last one, the therapy. So I think that's all from our group. And if you have any question, just ask and maybe we can answer the question. So see you next time and hope you can understand the presentation. Yeah, thank you.